So you want to know who the best supports in Paladins are, huh? Well, you've come to the right place. My name is Raynday, and today we're going to take you through one of my favorite types of videos, a top 5 telling you who is the top dog, who is the head honcho, who is the big kahuna as far as healing in the high-level Paladin scene. If you never played Paladins, that's cool. This is a great introductory video for you to check this game out and see if any of these characters, champions, they catch your eye. And we're going to be breaking down why they take the number 5 through the number 1 spot and what their benefits are in the overall competitive scene. Now, unlike most of my videos, I actually have a special guest, and his name is Vex30 of G2 Esports, one of the best supports in North America. He's going to be giving his opinion on why he feels these certain champions are where he feels in his top 5 list, and I'm going to be comparing my list with his and going through the differences as to why a pro player or maybe why I disagree or agree on certain placements of certain champions. Now, I chose to work with Vex on this because I felt that he was grinding a lot on his YouTube channel, and I wanted to show some support, so go check him out over there. He does some great content for Paladins and still working up past 1,000 subs. And the other thing is that I think that this is not a black and white conversation. This is a general kind of idea of how you believe Paladins should be played and what fits in your lineup and your style of play. This ain't peanut butter or almond butter. This ain't just, I like Titanic or I don't like Titanic, but I don't know who you are if you don't like Titanic. I'm just saying that I know there are some people out there who don't give a crap about a James Cameron movie. So we're gonna move it along and just say, I respect you, I don't understand you, but at least I get to hear another side of the coin. People don't like Titanic. Next, we'll be hearing people don't like Trump. Where'd everybody go? So now, getting into the top 5 best supports in Paladins, number 5 for Raynday comes in as Grover. I mean, honestly, who doesn't love a tree swinging a giant axe to kill you on a Sunday morning? I know I do, and that's why I think a lot of players, especially competitively, love having Grover on their squad. Overall, the last couple of weeks, he has been banned as far as our current PPL, but he's had a couple of long-standing Vine issues that has made sometimes in the highest level of esports him unreliable. But in most ranked games and in most play, when that is taken care of, Grover stays at a very reliable level of getting AoE healing and applying early game pressure that's very hard to deal with. Grover is one of the only champions in the game, and I think this speaks to Grover's efficacy to have multiple talents be used in high-level play over the course of his lifetime. We've seen Grover use Deep Roots, we've seen Grover's use ferocity, and we've also seen those talents get nerfed respectively due to the fact that he was very dominant and it seemed to be a little bit overtuned. He has a high win rate in natural competitive play, and thus it translates to pro play as well. The other thing that has really brought Grover back into the main conversation is his talent Efflorescence. When that was discovered in the PPL, the ability to heal people from such a long range in tandem with the increased radius cards you can grab onto his passive healing, as well as the reduced cooldown of Blossom, it's made him a very dangerous threat early game because it's just so much healing to deal with across the board at an early level before cauterize. With his combination of damage, utility with his crippling throw, his massive healing, and his AoE ability to change the tide of a fight with Whirlwind early game to mid game, Grover gets the number 5 spot for me. But what's Vex's number 5 champion?
I put Genos down at 5 in this list because he just doesn't have the healing potential right now to keep up with burst meta. Of course, he has Luminary, which helps augment his team's damage, which is good in burst meta, but it's not enough to make up for the lack of healing. He also has one of the hardest ults to hit in the game, which keeps him lower on the list, because every champion above him has an easier ult to use, and ults are huge in Paladins.
It's hard to hit a Genos ultimate? I laugh. Vex, I am so glad you are not invited to the Van Dupins tonight, otherwise we would have to turn you away at the door. Can you believe this guy? Moving on to the number 4th best support champion in Paladins, Genos. In all seriousness, Vex makes a great point. I mean, there's no comparison to the ease of use of a Ying ultimate versus a Genos ultimate. However, I think that Genos steps up to number 4 for me because of his utility in filling out triple DPS compositions. Paladins have several ways you can go. We've seen triple tank, we've seen triple support, we've even seen quadra support and quadra tank. But one of the most staple drafts that we've seen actually take relevance at high level that was different than the 2 tank, 2 damage, and then 1 support was actually the triple DPS, and that's what Genos brings to the table better than any support in the game. And when you look at the all-around capacity to maybe support your front line as well as support your damage dealers, then Genos definitely can't fill out the top 3 roles. However, I do think that when you're looking for strictly running a triple DPS, strictly trying to beat a certain draft on a certain map with that composition, there's no better champion I'd rather have. Throw an Astral Mark on a Koga, throw an Astral Mark on an Androxus, throw an Astral Mark onto a Zen with Luminary chosen as your talent, and I just have a hard time thinking about how they lose that fight. But when it comes down to sustain, Genos just can't keep up with the rest, which is why he doesn't move higher in this list and stays at number 4. However, Vex, what's your number 4?
Ying barely holds this 4th spot in my eyes. She brings some huge healing numbers with her new revamped legendary life exchange, but the issue is if you were playing Ying correctly, your damage will be very lackluster. And the reason she holds this 4th spot over Genos is her ultimate is one of the best and easiest to use of all the supports.
I mean, you're sitting here telling me Ying's at 4th, but barely because she can't do enough damage, but you like her ultimate, and I'm sitting over here as Genos like, dude, come on, you need some damage, like, put me in, coach, put me in. Moving on to the number 3 best support champion in Paladins, it's Ying. Now, as far as ease of ultimates, you're going to give that to Ying. As far as straight healing output, Ying wins that as well. And we are talking about the support class, but there's a lot of other ways that supports can impact the fight. The biggest weakness that Vex points out is the fact that Ying actually has very little damage because you're usually shattering all the time using Brittle 5. Make sure you throw that in your loadout. Hopefully they don't nerf it by the time of this video. Now, the reason Ying has moved up in this rank is because Shatter has always been a bit of a dead ability, but with the new Life Exchange legendary, she can now, instead of shattering her clones and losing all of her healing, which for a support is a little interesting, she can now use a 800 health beam onto anybody in her sight at a very low cooldown with Brittle 5 like we just mentioned. But the word that you need to know that Life Exchange brings to Ying is flexibility. It's great output. Sure, it's an 800 heal on a 1.5 second cooldown with Brittle 5. That is very, very good for you and your total healing numbers. But what flexibility truly means is that you're able to send a flank out into a fight and know that you can heal him while staying safe. Most compositions that had Ying in the past had to be a deployable nightmare with Barrack, had to be some kind of special map where it's a Bright Marsh or a Jaguar Falls and you know everyone's going to be around your clones because that was the only way you could keep them healthy. This opens up a whole new world for Ying, which means she can fit into drafts more easily, she can keep up with healing her flanks more effectively, and she can also match the output healing of healers like Damba and Furia onto the front line in auras when they are on her team. Now that's my 3rd pick for the best support champion in Paladins. Who does Vex pick to go in this spot?
Grover has the potential to be number 1 on this list. The only thing holding him back is his inability to heal at long range. He brings the damage numbers, the healing numbers, amazing utility with his cripple and his loadout cards, which he has DR for himself, and he has movement speed cards for his team when he pops heal. And he also has a game-changing ultimate in Whirlwind.
Now, Vex and I have the same 3 champions within the 5, 4, and 3 spot, but they're all in a little bit of a different order. So you make the call and let us know in the comment section below which order you like a little better and why you like it. Moving on to the number 2 best support in Paladins, in my eyes, that's gotta be none other than Maldamba. I mean, Maldamba is the Paladin support it girl, or I guess it guy. Or, wait, maybe it's Snake? You know what, let's not make this a labels thing. Let's just say that Maldamba, if there was a presidential office for supports, has been in charge for the last 8 years. He has served his terms, but unfortunately, there is a new beast in town that has just taken over in so many different ways that it's hard to put Maldamba at number 1 again, unless you are just a hometown lover. Now, if you love snakes, you love snakes. Maldamba might forever be your number 1. You won't catch me out in the Florida Everglades hunting Burmese pythons for some money, but you will catch me talking about the benefits of what Maldamba brings to Paladins, and that is just his overall kit. It's all the small things, like my boys Blink 182 used to say, and the fact that he can just do everything so well. He has no flaws in his kit. He has everything from damage immunity, CC immunity, he's got a stun, he's got decent DPS, he's got a hit scan heal, he's got an AoE heal, he can heal himself, he's got damage reduction in his cards, and he's got movement speed in his cards to allow front lines like Stagala and those pairings of Terminus and Inara to be able to work so well together. It's like a fine wine and a fine cheese. They just get better with time. Although I'd still watch the fight, I would have to assume that in this battle royale, Maldamba would unfortunately take the L to our number 1 best support. But what does Vex think about the number 2 spot and who gets it?
Damba is a very close second to Furia. Damba has everything you can ask from a support right now. Utility in his snake stun, and he has movement speed for allies in his loadout cards. He has a huge teamfight ultimate that can make or break fights. He has 2 sources of healing, 1 AoE heal and 1 long range hit scan heal. The only thing that is holding him back from first is his damage is very unconfirmable and extremely short range.
Maldamba has been the OG for so long, and even Vex and I agree he could still be somebody's number 1, but in our list, it has to go to the one blessed by the pyre herself. None other than Furia is your number 1 best support in Paladins. The reason Furia takes this is because she does everything, but she does the things that a support needs to do even better than Maldamba. Solar Blessing is the most insane amount of healing I think we've ever seen in Paladins, and it's very bursty with Kindle Soul, whether you run Cherish or not. I mean, the ability for you to just heal someone for 6,000 health every single second means that even if Cauterize 3 is applied, they are healing for 600 health a second still. You have to have Cauterize 3 and be doing more than 600 damage a second to that person constantly for them to stop gaining health, which is why we've seen Willow continue to be such a facet in this meta, trying to counter out that Solar Blessing heal that is nearly unplayable around. But the real reason that distinguishes the number 2 from the number 1 spot in the best supports in Paladins is the damage. The confirmability of Furia's weapon being at hit scan, and also the increased damage from her passive that just generates 33% extra damage while you're doing the job of a healer that you should be doing, means that she is always going to be effective from long or close range and cleaning up targets or poking down tanks. She has Pyre Strike as a stun, and she also has 30% movement speed and 30% damage amp for her teammates whenever she charges her Inflame. And that Inflame charges extremely quickly. You can get 1, 2, maybe even 3 during a long point fight. And that just means that for those moments she's charging it up, she's CC immune and damage immune, and she has great mobility, and the rest of her team is being amped by Luminary Marks ×2, plus an additional 30% healing. Just throw a Nimble 3 on there as well. In the hands of a good player, Furia can absolutely dominate a team fight and give her tanks more sustain than any other support in the game right now. She can handle her own when flanks approach her to the back line, and she also has a moment of just let me get out of here and hopefully my team can rally next to me with her ultimate Inflame. Now, Vex and I both believe that Furia takes home the number 1 spot in Paladins, but does his reasoning change? Let's take a listen.
Furia barely holds on to this number 1 spot. She is the jack of all trades, and frankly, she is the master of all of them too. She brings huge healing numbers, and what she misses from healing, her loadout card that shields allies, makes up for it. Her damage is super easy to confirm, is long range and short range, and it really packs a punch. And her ultimate is something you just press E, and your team now has an advantage for 8 seconds without you even breaking a sweat.
Clear, concise, and to the point, the ease of which Furia does all the things in the world that Maldamba tries so hard for is probably why she's picked and banned in most of these games. However, that's going to do it for today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it yourselves. If you had a differing opinion on one of these picks, let us know in the comment section below. If you'd like to follow more of what Vex is doing on YouTube or on Twitch, make sure to hit his channels. I'll have them linked in the description below as well. Thanks so much for watching, my friends. Leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more top 5s and videos here at Raynday Gaming. And as always, remember to never give up, never stop gaming, and we'll see you all in the realm.